3 days after I let my cousin Camilla stay at my lake house, she looked me dead in the eye and said, "You should really be more respectful, Liam. Guests don't get to question the homeowner." The homeowner. She said that to me. In my house. I've replayed that moment in my head 100 times, and every time, it hits harder. Let me rewind a little. My name's Liam Mercer. I'm 32, an architectural engineer, and the only grandchild my grandmother ever truly spoiled. After she passed 2 years ago, she left me her lake house in Vermont. It's a cozy, peaceful place overlooking Stillwater Lake. I spent half my childhood summers there, learning to fish, reading on the porch swing, and finally feeling like I mattered. You see, growing up wasn't easy. My mom's younger sister, Aunt Selena, had a daughter named Camila, 2 years younger than me, and the golden child of the family. Camila could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was the quiet, awkward kid who got told to be more like your cousin. Every birthday, every family reunion, Camila stole the spotlight. I didn't even mind at first, until she started making my life hell. She teased me, humiliated me in front of others, and even once told me, "The only reason Grandma likes you is because she feels bad for you." It wasn't just childish bullying. It stuck. So when Grandma passed and left her beloved lake house solely to me, the family tension peaked. Camilla didn't say it outright, but I knew she thought it was unfair. Aunt Selena even called me a few days after the funeral, gently suggesting I consider sharing the house with family. I said no. Politely, but firmly. Fast forward to 3 weeks ago. I got a call from Aunt Selena. "Camilla's had a rough year," she began. "Her restaurant venture failed. Her husband's dealing with some legal issues. They need a place to land, just for a month or two." I hesitated. Every fiber of me screamed no. But guilt is a powerful thing. So I agreed. Camilla and her husband showed up 2 days later. She hugged me like we were best friends, all saccharine smiles and fake affection. "You look so grown up, Liam," she gushed. "This place is even nicer than I remember." I told her they could have the downstairs guest room. I also made it crystal clear. No guests, no redecorating, no parties, and absolutely no treating the place like a hotel. She nodded, promised to help around the house, and said they'd be job hunting immediately. That was the last time I felt any control. Within 48 hours, Camilla had taken over the living room, rearranged the patio furniture, and filled the fridge with overpriced organic nonsense I never touched. I came home from work one day and found her burning sage in the kitchen, because apparently, the energy felt stale. Her husband, Marco, was quiet, polite, and entirely useless. He claimed to be in consulting, but mostly lounged in the hammock, reading self-help books and drinking green smoothies. I tried to stay civil. I left for work early, came home late, bit my tongue, but the tension kept building. Then came the breaking point. I returned from a 3-day work trip and immediately noticed something was off. The framed photo of me and Grandma was missing from the mantel. The spare keys I kept in the kitchen drawer were gone. And worst of all, there were strangers in my house, a couple in their 50s, sipping wine on the deck like they owned the place. Camilla came outside, barefoot, wearing one of my grandmother's silk shawls. "Oh, hey, you're back," she said casually. "Liam, this is Avery and Noelle, potential investors for Marco's new venture. They're staying the weekend." I stared at her, stunned. "They're what?" She didn't flinch, just smiled and said, "Don't worry, I told them you're staying here temporarily while you figure things out." I laughed. It was either that or scream. "Camilla, what the hell are you talking about?" And that's when she dropped the bomb. "You need to stop embarrassing yourself, Liam. This house feels like home now, for me and Marco. You're welcome to stay, as long as you follow our rules." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. My cousin had officially lost her mind, and I had officially run out of patience. I didn't sleep that night. After Camilla told me to follow her rules in the house my grandmother left to me, I locked myself in my room and stared at the ceiling for hours. I replayed her words again and again, wondering how the hell I'd let this happen. The worst part? Those strangers, Avery and Noelle, were still out on the deck, drinking my wine, enjoying the lake view like it was theirs. I wanted to storm outside and tell them the truth, but something stopped me. Maybe it was shock. Maybe it was the overwhelming weight of betrayal. By morning, my fury had settled into something colder. I made coffee in silence. Camilla breezed into the kitchen like nothing had happened. "Hey," she said cheerfully, "can you make an extra pot?" Noelle loves your brew. My hands tightened around the mug. I didn't say a word. "You okay?" she asked, too sweet, too fake. "I'm fine," I replied flatly. "Just tired. I've got a lot of work to catch up on." Right, she said, waving her hand like my job didn't matter. "Hey, quick heads up. Marco's thinking of hosting a little dinner party this weekend. Nothing huge, just some friends, maybe a couple of potential investors. Should be fun." I stared at her in disbelief. "Camilla, I told you, no guests, no parties." She blinked, then gave me that smile, the one I remembered from childhood, the one she used right before stealing something and acting like I was the problem. "Liam," she said softly, "you're being dramatic. You said we could stay here. You never said we couldn't live." That was her logic, that because I'd opened my door, she now owned the entire damn house. Over the next few days, things got worse. The investors stayed longer than the weekend. Camilla kept introducing me to people as my cousin Liam, who's crashing here for a bit while figuring things out. Every time she said it, I felt my blood boil. She'd moved my grandmother's quilt from the guest room to her own bed, replaced the welcome mat with one that had her and Marco's initials. She even started referring to the Lakehouse as our home on her social media posts. And I let it slide, because I still hoped that if I gave her time, she'd find a job, move out, and this nightmare would end. But then came the letter. I came home from work one evening to find a crisp white envelope on the kitchen table. My name was written on it in elegant cursive. Inside was a formal invitation, on heavy cardstock with gold trim, inviting a small group of guests to Camilla and Marco's summer house launch dinner. Launch. Dinner. I read it twice, then a third time. She was throwing a party to announce this house as hers. I confronted her that night. She didn't even pretend to be surprised. "Relax, Liam. It's just branding. Investors love a polished image. I'm not actually stealing your house." "But you're lying about it. To everyone," I snapped. "You've crossed every line." She shrugged. "Look, if it bothers you so much, maybe take a break. Go stay at a hotel for a bit, clear your head. Let us handle the launch. You could use the time off anyway." That's when I realized she was trying to push me out completely. And she was doing it strategically, playing the sweet hostess, painting me as unstable, rewriting the narrative to make herself look like the savior, and me the burden. I felt humiliated, angry, but more than anything, I felt done. So that night, after she went to bed, I opened the safe in my closet. Inside were the original deed to the house, Grandma's handwritten will, and something else I hadn't looked at in years. A flash drive. It contained security footage from the Lakehouse's previous camera system, one I'd reactivated when they moved in. I copied everything. Every lie, every party, every moment she introduced herself as the owner. And I made a plan. The next morning, as Camila set the table for her big dinner party, I watched her from the hallway. She was humming, smiling, gloating. She had no idea what was coming. I didn't go to work the next day. Instead, I stayed home and watched the circus unfold. Camilla was in full event planner mode, parading around the house with a clipboard, directing a catering crew she could barely afford. Marco followed behind her like a lost puppy, nodding to every demand. "Let's put the champagne bar near the deck," she chirped. "It'll frame the sunset perfectly. And don't forget the welcome sign, the Callahan's summer retreat." "Got it?" I clenched my jaw so tight I thought my teeth would crack. She'd renamed the house, used her married name, as if erasing my family from the place would make it hers. What made it worse was that the guests had already started to arrive. Real estate agents, influencers, a couple of guys in suits that screamed venture capital. They toured the property like they were scouting an investment, completely unaware they were being sold a fantasy. I kept my distance for most of the evening, staying upstairs, watching the security feed from my laptop. Every time Camilla walked someone past my grandmother's handmade curtains or antique bookshelf, I felt another piece of my sanity slipping away. But I waited. I needed the right moment. Downstairs, laughter echoed through the walls. I could hear Camilla gushing, "Oh, we just love this space. My grandmother left it to me. She always said I had vision. We're actually considering offers from select investors, but only those who understand the heart of this place." I nearly punched my desk. Then, right on cue, one of the VC guys asked, "So whose name is on the title now?" And that was it. Showtime. I walked downstairs in silence. Through the hallway, past the fake flower arrangements and rented furniture Camilla had staged to make the house look trendier. She froze when she saw me. "Oh, Liam," she said through gritted teeth. "Didn't expect you down here?" I smiled. "Yeah, I figured I'd say hello before I leave for that hotel you so kindly suggested." She laughed nervously. "Ha ha. Yeah. Of course." I turned to the guests. "Hi, I'm Liam Mercer, the actual owner of this house." Camilla's smile snapped. "Liam, stop it!" "No, really," I continued. "My grandmother left this Lakehouse to me. Here's the deed." I pulled the original from a folder and placed it on the kitchen island. "And if you'd like to verify, here's the video footage from the past 2 weeks, complete with audio." I connected my laptop to the TV. With a single click, I played clips of Camilla telling multiple people the house was hers. The fake stories, the fake branding, the lie she'd built this entire event around. Dead silence. Camilla went pale. Marco dropped the glass in his hand, shattering it on the floor. Then one of the venture capital guys turned to her. "Wait, you're not the owner? You said you inherited it." I meant spiritually," Camilla stammered. "We live here. We made it a home." "You committed misrepresentation," he snapped. "That's not just bad optics. It's illegal if money's involved." Camilla's mouth opened, but nothing came out. And then came the twist I didn't see coming. A woman in a navy pantsuit stepped forward. "Hi, I'm Andrea Silva. I'm an attorney, and also Marco's former business partner. I've been looking for him for 8 months. You just helped me find him." I blinked. "Wait, what?" She turned to Marco. "You stole over $60,000 from our joint account when the restaurant folded. I have the documents. And now I've got proof of where you've been hiding and the fake business venture you're peddling." Camilla gasped. "Marco, is that true?" He didn't respond. He just slumped into the nearest chair, defeated. The room exploded into chaos. Guests whispering, some walking out. Andrea calling someone, probably the authorities. Camilla staring at her husband like he'd just shot her. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, watching her little empire collapse in front of everyone she tried to impress. Comment the number 1 if you want to see how Camilla will pay for this. Camilla was still frozen when the last guest left. The once glamorous summer house launch party had turned into a public disaster. Empty champagne glasses and shattered reputations littered my living room like broken promises. Marco had vanished, probably trying to outrun Andrea Silva and whatever legal hell she was about to unleash. But Camilla? She just stood there, clutching her wine glass like it was the only thing keeping her upright. "I can fix this," she whispered. To herself. Or maybe to the ghost of the life she thought she'd built. I didn't say anything, not yet. I wanted her to sit in the silence she'd created, to feel what it's like when everything you've stolen starts slipping through your fingers. Eventually, she turned to me. "Why would you do this, Liam? We're family." That word again. "You lied to everyone," I said. "You stole my name, my house, my grandmother's memory, and tried to kick me out. And now you're playing the victim?" I didn't mean to. Don't. You meant every move you made, from the day you walked in here acting like you were doing me a favor. She dropped the glass onto the counter and slumped into a chair. We needed a win, she muttered. After the restaurant failed, after everything fell apart, I thought if we made this place ours, people would believe in us again. You mean believe in the lie? She didn't deny it. That night, I made it official. I gave her a printed notice, written, dated, signed by me. She had 72 hours to vacate the property. No more fake grace periods. No more pretending I was the one staying with her. The law was on my side, and I made sure she knew it. For once, she didn't argue. She just nodded and walked upstairs. The next 2 days were oddly quiet. Camilla stayed in her room. No fake smiles, no manipulation, just silence. I almost started to believe she'd finally accepted reality. On the morning of the third day, I heard the front door slam shut. I looked outside and saw a rental car pulling away. Her suitcases were in the trunk. The Lakehouse was still, empty, free. I exhaled so deeply, it felt like I'd been holding my breath for weeks. I spent the rest of that day cleaning. I threw out the branded coasters, took down the fake C&M Summer House sign, scrubbed every corner until the house smelled like lemon and peace again. By evening, I was on the porch with a beer, watching the sun dip behind the lake. I had my sanctuary back. But then, my phone buzzed. It was a notification from my credit card company. Your charge of $4,732.81 at Vermont Home Design has been approved. What? I blinked. Then I got another. Your charge of $2,109.50 at Lux Linens has been approved. My heart dropped. I rushed inside, grabbed my laptop, and logged into my account. Camilla had used my card. My card. Dozens of charges over the last 2 days. Furniture, electronics, even a down payment for an interior design service, for a new property under her name. She hadn't left quietly. She'd used the 72-hour window to wipe out nearly $12,000 from my account and furnish a condo she'd leased across town, under a new business name. I stared at the screen, stunned. She was building a new fake empire, with my money. And she thought I wouldn't find out. Number, not this time. I pulled out my phone and dialed my attorney. Then I logged into the home security system, because if she'd used my credit card without permission, there was a good chance she'd done something else, something worse. And I was right. I checked the footage from the night before she left. At 2:14 a.m., she walked into my office with a USB drive. She plugged it into my computer, my work computer. Then she started clicking, scrolling, opening folders. That computer had access to confidential client files, project blueprints, financial documents, and she'd copied them all. She hadn't just stolen money. She'd committed corporate theft. I didn't sleep that night either. While Camilla was off somewhere playing house with my money and stolen files, I was on the phone with my attorney until sunrise. We compiled everything, screen recordings of the unauthorized charges, timestamps from the security footage, and, most importantly, the list of confidential blueprints she had copied from my company's database. What she'd done wasn't just petty theft, it was criminal. By noon the next day, we had everything submitted. My lawyer moved fast. He filed both a police report and a cease and desist order. I also informed my company's legal team. Since those files contained NDA-protected architectural plans for several high-profile projects, Camilla had opened herself up to federal-level consequences. The dominoes started falling faster than I expected. By Friday, I received word that her condo lease had been revoked. The furniture company she tried to work with froze delivery due to the fraud alert on my card, and the new boutique design firm she'd tried to register under her name shut down before it ever launched. The bank flagged her activity, and her accounts were frozen pending investigation. But the real justice came the following Monday. She showed up at the Lakehouse. No warning, just a knock at the door around 7:30 a.m. I opened it. She looked nothing like the glowing party host from a week ago. Her hair was a mess. Dark circles under her eyes. No makeup, no mask. "You ruined everything," she said, her voice cracking. "No, Camilla," I replied, calm as stone. "You did. I needed that money. I just wanted a fresh start. I didn't take anything personal, I swear." "You copied restricted blueprints from a licensed firm. You stole from a protected work device. You committed credit card fraud. Do you even hear yourself?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I wasn't thinking. I was desperate. Please don't press charges. Please." I paused. For a second, I saw the cousin I used to know. Not the manipulative liar she'd become, but the girl I once played board games with on Grandma's porch. The one who got scared of thunderstorms and climbed into my bunk bed when we were kids. But then, I remembered her looking me in the eye in my own home and saying, "Guests don't get to question the homeowner." And the sympathy vanished. "I'm not pressing charges," I said. She blinked. "You're not?" "No," I continued, "because the company is, and the state of Vermont is, and my bank. I'm just stepping out of the way while the truth does its job." Her knees buckled slightly. She sat on the porch step like the weight of it had finally landed. I didn't invite her inside. I closed the door. 2 weeks later, I got the call. She was officially under investigation for wire fraud, credit card fraud, and intellectual property theft. Marco had fled to Florida, leaving her to face everything alone. And her mother, my Aunt Selena, had finally reached out, not to defend her, but to apologize for enabling her behavior all these years. She didn't ask me to forgive Camilla. She just said, "I think we all saw this coming. We just didn't want to believe it." Camilla's reputation? Gone. Her online presence was wiped clean after local media got wind of the charges. She lost whatever network she had left. The investors blacklisted her. No one wanted their name tied to fraud. As for me, I got a raise. My company thanked me for protecting our data and tightened security protocols. The Lakehouse is quiet again, peaceful. I turned the guest room into a design studio, named it after my grandmother, Eleanor's Nook. Every time I walk past it, I remember who really believed in me first. Camilla tried to take everything I had, but in the end, she lost everything she pretended to be. And I didn't have to lift a single finger. All I had to do was let her bury herself. Comment the number 2 if you love seeing liars fall by their own lies. And if you want more real stories like this, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stick around. Because this isn't the only revenge they never saw coming.